Good evening. A very warm welcome to you all. My name is Jurgen Chonnafong and I'll be your moderator for tonight. And welcome to Dutch Masters. Dutch Masters is a series of talks initiated by Pakhuis Zwijger, where we focus on a creative based in Holland but internationally renowned. In the past we had illustrious guests like, we can see them here, Ivo van Hoven, theatre director, Michiel van Erp, documentary maker, Francine Huben, architect. And there's a very wide palette of people that talk about their inspirations, talk about their dreams and talk about their careers. And I'm very, very, very honored to have one of the most intriguing fashion designers of the moment today as our Dutch master. He started and founded his own label and he combines a very interesting fashion designs with also an ethical mission. He's not only critically acclaimed, but he also combines that with how do you say that? A taste for the stars. Everybody wants to wear him, from Emma Watson to Gigi Hadid. Please give a warm welcome to Ronald van de Kemp. Have a seat. I introduced you, but as you see there, you always are asked as a Dutch master to introduce. It's very far away. Yeah, well, come closer to me. Well, I'm positioned here because then you can look at the audience and me as well. We also ask a Dutch master to introduce a Dutch talent, and we will get to know him better in a moment. But you have proposed Duran Lantink. Why is that?
Well, because basically we're doing sort of the same thing, but then very different.
Mm-hmm. Also a fashion designer?
Yeah, well, he's a fashion designer. And we both work with existing materials in a way. He works with existing clothes, and I work with existing materials, as in fabrics and leathers and trims. Leftovers. We try to give a new purpose to leftovers, so that's what we have in common.
Right.
And he does it in a very different way. And I think what's great, he's getting a lot of attention and praise now because of his nomination also for the LVMH award. So I thought this was a really good combination.
Good. Well, we'll talk in depth with you a little bit later, but now all focus on you. As people maybe will see today, you are followed by a camera because people are making a documentary about you, right?
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, we've got a short teaser as a preview from.
Yeah, we have a trailer of the upcoming documentary.
Is it already finished? Because it's still filming.
No. A documentary is never finished, I think. But it's something to give you an idea.
Before we start our conversation, let's have a look at the teaser.
Okay.
When you see a show of his, every single outfit looks different from the one that came before. Every single outfit is a story.
And go, please.
So good.
Next.
You want to know more. You want to know not just about the clothes, you want to know about the mind that made them.
This is what I love. Because these things have been around and you can make it into something beautiful again, something new.
Ronald is so special because of just his incredibly unique approach to how he makes things. He gathers the fabric, then he makes the dress versus the other way around.
Het is geen wegwerpproduct.
Dunham heeft voor 4,2 biljoen aan leftovers, maar ze niet weten wat ze ermee naartoe moeten.
So you would get cut off and bits and pieces that other people had thrown away.
Ik wil op een positieve manier een voorbeeld geven van hoe het ook kan in de modewereld. En niet steeds maar weer nieuwe dingen produceren die uiteindelijk in de vuilnisbak verdwijnen.
Lena Dunham is going to the Met Ball, organized by Vogue, hosted by Anna Wintour. And this time I think Amal Clooney, who initially also asked for a dress.
Je merkt dat er heel veel belangstelling is vanuit LA, dus het is heel goed om hier een keer te zijn.
Oh my God! Look at this thing! This is the most beautiful creation. And you made this for me.
De keerzijde van de kleden van al die sterren is dat mensen denken dat je al binnen bent. Het is nu best een hele zware tijd. Mijn geld is inmiddels op. Juist nu moet het gebeuren.
Are you a celebrity, famous porno star?
You recognize me, right? Soms is het best wel lastig om aan je principes vast te houden. Geen concessies. De modewereld is niet zo principieel. Je moet gewoon trouw blijven aan je eigen waarden. Ja, dat is het.
Yes, great. A documentary created by Kitty Koring, who's also here, but he's also nominated for the Dutch Director Guild. And Monday she will know whether she'll win the award as well. All about you. Like people said, and the man said in the documentary as well, we want to know more. We want to know more about the pieces. Let's go way back to the start, actually. Where did it start for you? When did you get interested in fashion?
Well, I was always interested in fashion, actually, at a young age, but I wasn't really surrounded by fashion in that way. I mean, my mom made her own clothes, and she made clothes for me, but that was about it. And,
but what sparked your interest in fashion? Because interest in clothes is something else than interest in fashion.
No, it's true. I think it sort of gradually came. You know, I come from a small village, and
Where?
I didn't get the exposure, Wiegen, well, in the southeast. But I studied ballet, and I wanted to become a ballet dancer, and then I moved to Amsterdam when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then my whole dance career wasn't really going anywhere.
Why not?
Because, well, I don't think I had the body for it. I mean, I got through the auditions, but then after 6-7 months, it turned out that I wasn't really gonna go very far with that.
Right.
And I was always knitting and making clothes and doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So that sort of became a logical thing to do for me.
If you go back, what would you rather be? A ballet dancer or a fashion designer?
No, I'm very happy I turned to fashion. I mean, I love ballet, and I think it's the most beautiful art form there is. But when you're 30 or 35, you're, sort of retired with a body that's, broken. So, now life starts at 50. So that's it's a pretty good move, I think.
But you say you always were knitting and sewing clothes. Where did that start?
I don't know. I sort of had this urge to do all these things that boys don't do. But I always feel like I'm sort of like a Billy Elliot in that way. I just had to do them. Like dancing was one of them, but then also, all this other stuff. So I just had to do it. I wanted to learn it, and sort of a natural thing. Like,
one of the traits of Billy Elliot is that he was considered to be an outsider. Do you consider yourself to be an outsider as well?
Well, I was definitely where I grew up. And then I think when I came to Amsterdam and when I first, at the theater school and then later at the Rietveld Academy, I didn't feel like an outsider. I feel very included in the whole world. And it was great. But in fashion, sort of after working for 25 years, I sort of became an outsider again. But I think out of my own choice. So in that perspective, it's sort of the same thing.
You enrolled in the Rietveld Academy.
Yeah.
Not the most obvious choice for a fashion designer, or is it?
Well, for me it was. I mean, I was in Amsterdam and I wanted to study in Amsterdam, and it was also really. The academy is more sort of like an art academy, and that sort of appealed to me because it sort of. Helped me to develop my personality and what I believe in, and this was my main goal.
What did you develop at the Rietveld that is, very remarkable for that phase of your life?
Well, it's funny because when I decided I wanted to do something for myself 5 years ago, I sort of thought, how am I going to do this? Because every time I saw all these, I saw the future and I thought, I don't know if this is going to work, what I want to do. But then I thought, what I really want to do is what I did when I graduated at the Rietveld Academy. And I sort of did a collection then. And a lot of the pieces were made with vintage pieces that I rebuilt or did something with. So, and my thesis was about the environment and fashion, funny enough. I'm not a very political or activist kind of person, but somehow that came natural to me. So this all sort of came back in what I do now. So in that perspective, I think they educated me very well because I sort of learned about myself and what I wanted to do. And now, like 25 years later, 25 years later, I sort of did what I,
So the seeds were sown at the Retail Academy.
I think for sure, yeah.
And
also I think the people that I graduated with and the people that I was surrounded with were very influential as well. So, it was a really good time for me.
You're very critical of the fashion industry as an industry and how they treat, like the industry itself, how they treat materials, how they treat resources. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I worked for 25 years and I worked all different places. I worked in New York and Paris and Milan and in Germany, even in Austria. And the last 10 years, I think since social media started to become important, you saw a big change in fashion. And first of all, it was like, with the high street, people wanted new stuff all the time. Like, this is the problem with Instagram and with all the social media, that people get bored and they want to be bombarded with new images and new stuff all the time. So it wasn't only new images, no, they also wanted new products, so new clothes. So, we all know the problems that it caused and that it's causing right now because there's a huge overproduction and people started to look at clothes in a very different way. Like it became sort of like a disposable product and something that you wear for a picture and then you throw it away. Or, and I've grown up with the idea that clothes are there, you save for them and you really want them and you care for them and you sort of, you have your favorite pieces in your wardrobe, not something you buy that you want to throw away after, you've worn it once or even not worn it, which is the case with I think 30% of the clothes that people buy right now.
And you're very critical of that, and in your designs that we talk about a little bit later, you work around that theme, but after you graduated from Rietveld, you started to work in that industry as well.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, it wasn't so serious, really. I mean, you didn't really think about that. There's also a time when there was still like 2 collections a year. But because of the speed of things and because of everybody's need for newness constantly, I think that whole thing started changing. But when I started, my first big job was with Bill Blass, which was the American version of Saint Laurent, I think. And I saw that the women that were really loving clothes and that bought couture, and when there was a show at Bill Blass, there was all these like socialites sitting there, like ladies.
How did you end up in New York? You graduated from Rietveld. You had your own collection, your first collection. How did you make the leap to work internationally?
Well, I'd done an internship in Paris, so I sort of saw what was going on in Paris, and I thought, I don't think I'm gonna get a career very fast in Paris, just because if you're a boy and I don't know, if you don't know everyone in Paris, it's kind of hard. Girls have an easier entrance in Paris, I noticed.
Really?
So I thought I want to go to New York because it was all new and it was up and coming, really, like in terms of fashion. And I found that really interesting. So I applied for a bursary and I got it. And I'd never been to New York, but I actually moved just like that.
Without knowing the city, without any
knowing
network?
Anything really. I mean, I knew some friends that I had there, but I went there and I stayed there. So
how long did you stay in New York?
For almost 9 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And you survived. I mean, you were quite successful. You worked with big companies.
Well, it was really good, and I think it also sort of molded me to what I am now, in a way, because first at Bill Blass I saw the real sort of like the class and the socialites, the women that really cared about clothes and that were saving up for it, and the real couture clients. And later I worked with Barney's New York, one of the biggest department stores, and they were really good at finding new things first. Like they were always the first ahead of everyone, finding new designers. So I worked with all the buyers there, and I created...
What did you do at Barney's? You were a consultant?
I created their in-house collections, so collections with the Barney's New York label.
It's quite a prestigious position to have in a very young age, right?
Well, I wasn't that young, but...
How old were you when you did that?
I was like 30.
That's
So,
quite
yeah,
for
it's
that
all right.
position. It's
Yeah, but there's people already like at 30 that manage big houses, couture houses, So
right.
I don't know, but it was great. I mean, it was a very good experience because you're very hands-on. Because you see, the customers, they come to the store and you work with them, and so what you actually make, what you design, is actually you see it on real people, and you see what works and what doesn't work. So that was a very interesting thing for me, a very good experience.
Why did you decide to leave New York?
Because I was headhunted to come to Paris for Guillaume, one of the couture houses, and that was sort of a dream job.
Yeah.
And
What did you do there?
well, not much.
Okay.
Because I got there, and it was Albert Albas. He was before me, and it was quite a hype around the brand and everything. But the actual clothes didn't really sell so well, and then he decided to go to do Saint Laurent, which for him also didn't last very long. It was a very strange period, I think. But so I was hired, and then my CEO, the person who hired me, left after like 3 months. So I was basically there without any support because the new person didn't want me there. So I did one show, and then I did half of a season, and then I was sort of pushed out.
Disposed of.
Yeah, which was very dramatic.
I can imagine.
And that was another. I think that also came back to where I am now, because you're pushed in front of all the press, and they talk about you. Oh, here's the new Tom Ford. Here's the new this. Here's the new that. But before I even showed anything, almost like I was already killed.
Yeah.
So, you had to meet all these people, but then I could never really show what I wanted to do.
What did that do on a personal level? How do you deal with that at the moment? Because it's
Well,
your dream
at that
job.
point, it was very difficult because the only thing you feel like you're sort of tainted, and people don't know really what happened with you, and they think you did something wrong, or So you have this stamp, and I sort of need to get rid of that. So first, I thought that the only thing I can do now is do something for myself. So I did a collection under my own label, but I didn't really believe in it, and I didn't really have a real concept. But it's just because I needed to be doing something.
You had to continue.
And then I got consultancy jobs, and then which I was quite successful with the consultancy. So that sort of,
What did
brought me back.
consultancy entail? What do you do as a consultant?
Well, I worked for different brands. I worked for example, Anjona is like the women's brand of Xenia, like very high-end. So I did a collection for them. I worked with somebody who did furs. I did with somebody who did
But as a consultant,
knitwear.
if you say I did a collection for them, did you design it or did you
Yeah, I designed collections for them, and sometimes you do also a little bit of creative direction, depends, or you do whatever they ask you to do creatively, because there's usually more to do than only designing. And
For
so
people not in the know, what is there more to do than designing?
Well, sometimes you have to set the tone for a company. Like it's not just you don't design a coat, but the coat or the whole look has to give a certain image, and that image has to fit with the brand,
Right.
and has to have a certain continuity, or has to have a certain something to say about the women that you want to dress. And
As
so
a
it also
consultant,
goes into photography or looks, or a show, or it can go.
as a consultant, you have to service the brand,
Yeah.
but still you are a creator yourself.
Yeah.
Was that difficult? Did that clash sometimes?
Well, yeah, it clashes often because you come up with ideas and you tell them what they should do, and then half of the time they don't do it. Especially if you're, if you work for somebody and you come there 2 or 3 days a week, which was the case with certain jobs, and then you come back, and then the next week, like there's merchandisers, and there's like, a CEO, or there's the wife of the boss, or somebody gets involved, and then they want to change everything, and you come back, and then you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
These are the kind of experiences that sort of, ground you and make you very strong, and also at one point make you decide that you want to do something for yourself. Besides everything else that I saw happening over those years in terms of, the enormous waste and the mass production and overproduction of collections that nobody really wanted to buy. I found out.
Yeah.
And so you get into a certain point that you feel like enough is enough.
And those collections that people don't want to buy, they're being destroyed, right?
Well, the thing is, what I was saying before, like the high fashion sort of followed fast fashion at one point, and Karl Lagerfeld was one of the biggest instigators of that, really, at Chanel, because at one point they did 10 shows a year, and basically it's following the timing of the high street brands, of the H&M's and Zara's of this world, with constant newness. But everybody knows, like, all those clothes don't get sold, especially not if you deliver 10 times a year. Like, but funny enough, Chanel never goes on sale, so then you start questioning. And in the beginning, I didn't really believe it, but then I really heard it firsthand also at Hermès, one of the brands that I really, respect. And you saw things just, like they're leftovers, and they decided to burn them, and because that's the only way to keep their brand, at a certain level. And when I realized that, I thought, this is really sick, because we're talking about, for example, there's a lot of talk about fur, how bad it is, and it is, of course, it's bad. But if you think about that, you make a leather bag, and the animal died, and then you burn the bag because it didn't sell. It starts to get really nasty, and I also realized that people don't really want to talk about that, because it's it's sort of embarrassing, and everybody needs to make their numbers and need to grow and grow and grow, which is also a ridiculous thing, because at this point, how can you grow even bigger than they already are? But they always find ways, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And to the outside, there's this beautiful picture and this glamour and all this, great stuff, and people loving it, and people following it, and and also sort of the women that I saw at Bill Blass, the customers then, which were the ladies that were really knowledgeable about fashion, that had a real personal taste, that were really muses also to the designers, turned out into the women that follow what's going on Instagram and sort of, want to be the next Kim Kardashian, covering themselves up with filters and sort of wiping themselves away, and then following a fashion trend and spending lots of money just to buy a look that they think is hot, without having a personal opinion or a personal point of view on that.
Are there no women like that anymore, or are they?
Well, of course there is, but there is an overwhelming representation of this other side.
Right.
In the media, and especially on Instagram, and also because people see that, oh, that's easy money, it's big money. I mean, right now, I think the biggest makeup brands is from one of the Kardashian girls, and there's all these makeup brands that have existed for 100 years, done all this research, this and that, and then all of a sudden there's this girl who's somewhat pretty, and not totally from birth, but she made herself pretty. And then
you mean she wasn't born like that? Is that what you say?
I don't know. So apparently she is, but I don't know.
No, I know. But it's also the renewal of the industry. I mean, new generations reinvent the industry, and that means that there are other excesses. So you can call Kim Kardashian, maybe you could say back when Kim Kardashian, that's like the new step in fashion, and the way you experience fashion is really valuable and very interesting. But to be provocative, it's old-fashioned fashion.
True, and I realize that. I feel like I'm very sentimental to those times. But what I see happening is that a lot of women, but this is what you see also happening now, there's an anti-reaction against everything. Because a lot of women, they sort of make themselves into something that they are not really. They try so hard to look like they're, Instagram filtered images, that I feel like they wipe themselves away. And this attracts, a certain type of man. And, we heard about the whole Me Too movement. I feel that they sort of miss the strength to stand up for themselves and to have their own vision and their own look at themselves, like, what is my personality, and how...
Isn't the fashion industry, isn't that about following the trends? I mean, that's what fashion is built about. It's not about individuality, because you're buying a brand that somebody else created, you're buying that. So in a sense, you're always following. You're never creative by yourself unless you design yourself. So if you're a fashion lover, you're, per definition.
Well, in a way, you're right, because this is what fashion does, but I feel that's where fashion goes wrong. I think we, as fashion designers, you have sort of like, you have to set the tone. And I feel that a lot of fashion designers put people in the wrong direction. So my goal is to put them in a direction that I feel like, I feel like women should. When I started, even with my collection, there was not a lot of diversity in the shows. I mean, now you see
Ethnic diversity,
yeah,
so to
ethnic
speak.
diversity.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But I talk in general diversity in the shows, because you had one look for a show and it was very easy because everybody then got the message. The girls all looked similar. They all had the same height, the same body. They got the same hair, makeup. They walk out with a theme. So after the 10-minute show, everybody knew what it was going on about. They could talk and they could say like, oh, this was the theme and we know what to do. And then you can dress that way. But I feel like I want to tell women that you should find your own personality and that everyone is different, and that you have to explore your own tastes and your own, what you're about and what you want to, what you want to exude.
Contradicting itself, because it's not that you give them the opportunity to create their own clothes. You stimulate them to create their own individuality, to stimulate that, but then the options that she has is either buying your clothes or buying Chanel's or buying
my
Duran.
idea is that these women build a wardrobe. What I do is I do instead of collections, I do wardrobes, because I feel a wardrobe is something that becomes part of you. So you collect pieces over the year that you love, that you won't throw away, that become a part of you. And it can be a casual thing, can be an evening dress, can be a leather jacket, can be underwear, can be lingerie, can be anything. But it's something that, becomes part of you. And then you build a style for yourself. And in that way, you're also going against this whole industry of like buying stuff and throwing it away, like what everybody thinks. It's fashion is not a disposable product, and it has become a disposable product because that's what the big brands want, because they want to make, they want you to buy as much as possible, even though you don't need it or you don't, but they tell you you have to buy something for this occasion and then you cannot wear it anymore. But I feel like,
We'll take a step back. You work the consultant, working for other people, creating visions for other people. What was the moment that you decided, okay, this is the moment that I want to start my own label, RVDK?
Well, there was a few moments. I think one moment was I was consulting for Escada, a German company. And at one point I walked in the showroom and I saw all these collections. They were all perfectly merchandised, so you have all these groups that were easy to merchandise in a store. Like you have a print and a color to go with it and a leather jacket, and everything matches together so women can just walk out with a whole look. And I thought, oh my God. And after you've done that a few seasons or a few years or 20 years, 25 years, you feel like, okay, I've seen it now. It's a formula you have to fill in. And, all these people around you, like around the design team, they love it because they know what they're going to get. Everybody is very happy. But there's no adventure anymore. Like I felt like I'm bored with this. And first of all, I think everyone else is bored with this. And there's no point in making these kind of clothes because there's no love in these clothes. Like it's just for the heck of it. Like we need, they want 10 collections a year, but we don't need them. I'd rather make 2 and make really beautiful things that were thought through, that really, are made with love. I say clothes with a soul. So this is what I wanted to do. I really, and the turning point was really when I did a shopping trip in New York, and I went to all the stores. I looked at all the collections of everyone, and I thought, why don't I get excited by anything that I see today? And then I walked into this vintage store where they have, old couture vintage, and every piece I saw there, I sort of, touched me because I thought, you pick it out and you look at it and you can see what time it was. You can see the love of how it was made. You can see the handwork. You can see the fabrics, the colors. Like it brings you back to a time. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to create these clothes that people, these are the clothes that you keep in your closet because you find them, they're special and they tell you something and you link to them. And I thought, this is what I want to make. I don't want to make just clothes that are made in a factory that is high tech and everything. No, I want clothes to have this personal feeling, that have a, that somebody touched, that has a real feeling for fabrics. And
How did you
there's a
start
little
out?
mistake or
How did you start out to,
well, it's pretty hard because I knew what I was going to do wasn't going to be like a very easy commercial or success to make in a big scale. But I just started making clothes that I really loved with fabrics that I had collected over the years, like all kind of things that I had.
Where were you based at that moment?
I was in Amsterdam already because I'd bought my place, but I'd worked abroad all the time. But now I decided, okay, I stop with all my work, my consultancy work, and I will do this for, I don't know, a year or something.
Was it literally you behind the sewing machine design?
No, because I don't sew.
Oh, okay.
You don't want me to sew. But no, I wanted to work with all the stuff that I had around me. And I found some pattern makers and people that were really good with sewing, some really good seamstresses. And I just started making piece by piece without a plan. And I sort of created a wardrobe. And when I finished my wardrobe, I showed it to a few people, and they were really enthusiastic. There was Ines and Vinoot, they're friends of mine from when I went to school. And
the photographer Ines van Landsweerde, right?
Yeah. So they basically see everything. So I thought I better show them if they think it's anything, vaguely new, then maybe I should go out with it. And well, Ines was really, she loved it from the moment she saw it and was really enthusiastic. So I thought, okay, that's a good one. If she likes it, more people will do. So that's when I decided to go to Paris, and I did a very intimate presentation. And basically from then on, it sort of started happening.
These are the images from your first wardrobe,
This was
right?
one of the first, the very first one. And for example, that's a fabric that I bought at a flea market in Paris. The jacket there,
the red one
from the back, yeah.
Oh, the one.
That's actually woven with. I worked with a guy who was weaving, and his parents had died, and he decided to cut up all the clothes, and we decided to weave it into new fabric. So that's actually completely, made with old clothes, but then turned into a new fabric. That dress is something that I hand painted myself, the one with where she has the feather in her hand. Very different things, and each garment told a story. So that was for me very important.
And you showed in Paris and this collection, and it was an instant success, right?
Well, I didn't really show it in such. I mean, I had a very intimate presentation. We only invited, I think, 10 press people, but amongst them was Emmanuel Alt and Tim Blanks and somebody from American Vogue, and they were all very enthusiastic. Also, first of all, about the clothes, which was great, and then I told them, well, this is all done with stuff that I collected over the years, and so they thought that was a very interesting concept. So, from then on,
it wasn't considered to be an accusation to the industry, because it is, in a way, it is an accusation. But
well, it's more. I sort of thought, I want to set a positive example about how you can also do it. You don't need to order. Because usually, if you build a collection, you think of a theme. And then with the theme, you find your colors, and then you have your fabrics, and you order fabrics in all different colors. And then in the end, maybe you use some brands will use only 30% of the fabrics that they ordered, or 50%, and the rest sort of gets, I don't know. So I now look through those fabrics from other brands that they don't use.
And how do you get in touch with them? Because do they know what your method of working is, and then you can easily drop by to pick up stuff, or how does that work?
Well, there is people that buy old stock, but there's also people that they know me now and they save things for me, and there's people that come to me with I have something interesting, or I go to flea markets, I go to stores in New York and Paris and wherever I go. And also I go to places where you usually don't find these kind of things. But for example, lately I found this big archive from a print mill in Paris that did everything for the old couturiers, and they closed. So they had all these small yardages of mousselines, beautiful fabrics from the 70s and 80s. So I bought I think 30 or 40 different prints. So this kind of thing, that really excites me.
Right.
But it can be anything.
How did you finance it all? Because it's quite.
Well, this is kind of a problem. Well, I financed it all myself. I'd saved quite some money before I started, so was my investment to do this thing that I really wanted to do. And you know, in the beginning, I didn't produce anything, but then after the second season, we were approached by Net-a-Porter, and we did small limited editions. So we had some turnover there. So you know, we kept going. But the moment you do a show costs a lot of money. Then it started to become very difficult. And so now we sort of have, how do you say it? We work with small group of angel investors, you know, people that have a very, very small part in the company, but these are also ambassadors for what we do. So people that really believe in our story and that really love the clothes as well. So we're in the middle of you know, getting some funding that way, and that works for us better than talking to traditional investors, because I've had some meetings, but they all want to go in the direction of where I don't want to go. You know, like it's you know,
and
people see money
is
like you know, if you see the big groups like the LVMH and the Kerings of this world, you know, they have this system, and you need to fit in, and I don't want to fit in, so. You know, first of all, you have to do at least 4 collections a year, and you know, if you work with existing materials, you cannot do big productions. So you need to, you know, work with what you have on hand.
Is your work one of a kind, or do you produce more editions of the same item?
In the beginning, we did not really. Well, we've had an occasion where that did happen. We did a flag jeans with an American flag, and there was
got a picture of that, I believe.
Yeah, we
flag jeans. Yeah.
So that became a very popular thing, and I mean, if you see, it was everywhere. Like
How many of
Kendall
those?
Jenner, Katy Perry,
It's quite
Katy Perry and Kendall Jenner.
quite a lot of celebrities. How many editions of the flag jeans did you make?
In the end, I think we made around 50.
50.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting what happens, because you are embraced by celebrities. What does that do for you and your brand and your finances as well?
It does a lot for your brand. I mean, people sort of start to take you serious because of it. I mean, Duran will tell you his story, but the moment something happens with a big celebrity, it makes you sort of like, people start to think, oh, okay, now it's serious, you know. And it is quite serious, because if I think about, you know, you see Emma Watson there at the Golden Globes. If you see, again, you're dealing with the Chanels and the Valentinos of this world that have huge budgets. They have their own atelier just for celebrities, their own, even sometimes design teams that work with the celebs, that fly stuff all over the world, that the celebs get everything for free. And then here I am, this small, you know, sustainable brand from Amsterdam, you know, dressing those people.
How did you get into that group of people to be noticed?
Well, just because of the clothes. This is a good thing. You know, they like the clothes, and they're different.
But
than
they have to
what
see
else.
your clothes, so how do you get your clothes
Well, the moment you start showing in Paris, and I started showing during couture, even when I did my small presentations, I did a lookbook, and it comes on the Vogue runway, and you get reviewed, and then you're next to, you know, the Chanel show, or the, you know, so people look at that, and the stylists know how to find you. And
but the fact that you're getting reviewed as a very small brand from Amsterdam, just starting out, has that got to do with the network that you already built when you were working in Paris and working in New York?
I don't know. No, it just has to do with what you do now. Nobody cares about what you've done in the past. It's about what, you know, fashion is about what you do in that moment.
Right.
And it had a certain relevance in terms of the look and the aesthetics, but also in terms of the story that I tell. So in that way, people, you know, took it very serious and saw it as something new and something exciting. And the good thing is also, the way I dress women is you see there, for example, there's Duitse, she has the hands in her pockets for an evening dress, and it makes, you know, that you feel very comfortable that way.
Right.
And what you see a lot with the red carpets right now is that people are sort of like in a transparent pantyhose full of Swarovskis where they can only show a certain part of their body. And the moment they get to the party, they have to leave because you cannot sit or do anything.
The Duitse dress is very comfortable. Can you tell us a little bit about the fabric? Where did it come from?
I think this was from You know, my business partner is Miriam, who worked with Frans Molenaar, Dutch couturier, who passed away. So I got a hold of a big archive of his fabric. So this is one of the fabrics that came from him.
Nice. This is a very comfortable dress. Another not so comfortable dress where you cannot sit down in, I believe, was worn by one of the people I admire very much, Tracy Ellis Ross, an actress. And she wore one of your gowns. Yes, here she is. She wore one of your gowns even when she was introducing or hosting the American Music Awards. And
I'll tell you, this dress is very comfortable because you can sit in it, you can move in it.
Can you?
Yes,
Oh,
and
really?
your colleagues can.
Let's look at the fragment, the footage that we have from an entrance at the American Music Awards. Wow. We've got sound as well. Oh no, there's no sound, but this is amazing. I mean, I saw this. I didn't know you designed it, and I was flabbergasted. I was really very impressed. What does that do to you if? No, another question. Sometimes you send out your clothes and you don't know whether they're being worn or not, right?
A lot, and I don't even know half of what gets sent out because my PR is in Paris and they get all the requests and it just gets flown all over, and it's a really difficult thing. It's very hard to get. You know.
Why is it difficult?
But this is something that.
Yeah, that's why we'll talk about that later. Okay. But why is it difficult?
Because well, you know, your competitors are, like I said, all the big brands, big groups. So if you for us, it's a big deal to send something. First of all, sending something. If you send a dress to LA, it's like, you know, 200 euros. Okay, that's it. And then it's there, and then you know it has to fit the star. Well, we make clothes for a show, so we make clothes for models. Yeah. So the models are stick thin, and you know, not many stars fit into those clothes, so it's kind of hard. So
are they allowed to adjust it to just use?
Well, sometimes they're not, but they do it. We've had occasions where you know, things were completely ruined.
Right.
And you get it back.
And what do you do?
If they wear it, and if it's a big star, you're okay with it. But sometimes, you know.
That's not
you
the
don't
case.
always have control. The stylist is pretty difficult to work with them.
Right. Okay. Tracy Ellis Ross was another case in that sense.
Yeah.
Because you did know that she was going to wear it.
Well, they had requested this dress 3 times, I think, and every time I said to my PR, I don't think we should send it because I think she might look like a fool.
Why?
Well, to be honest with you, it's a dress, but it's a statement, and you have to have a certain personality to wear this. So I thought you either have to be very tall, a model that knows, or you know, maybe Lady Gaga, I can imagine. But with her, I didn't know.
Because we have footage of pictures of the dress being worn by models, and so we can see the difference, almost who wore it better.
Yeah.
But this is how it was photographed for Vogue, I believe, right?
Yeah, this was French Vogue, yeah. And that was for Vogue Arabia cover.
Right. So you said
she asked for it, and then I said to the stylist, I said, okay, but if we do it, then we have to custom make it for her. And so then we sent it, and I still wasn't sure. But then you saw this picture before. She sent me this little movie that she filmed, and she was so excited about it, and she loved it, and she's Diana Ross' daughter.
Yeah.
And Diana was sitting in the audience, and she wanted to open this show.
Yeah.
You know, she said, "I'm gonna open the motherfucking show in your dress." You know, like she really wanted to have an entrance and really outshine her mom. Because her mom was sort of, you know.
Her mom is the big star. It's a very short story anecdote about her, because she got married and that was really nice. But at her wedding, her mom started to sing. So what happens if Diana Ross starts to sing at your wedding? Everybody's attention goes to Diana Ross instead of the bride. So this is the environment that she lives
in.
But
the side story is that 4 days before, we had just shipped the dress, and at the same time I got a call, "Hi, this and this from LA. We're dressing Diana Ross for the same event." So I called the stylist of Tracy Ellis, and I said, "What do we do?" Because, you know,
did she
of course
request
I'd
the
love
same
to dress
dress
her
or
mom.
not?
But no, she didn't request the same dress, but she wanted me to do something, and I said, and then she said, "Don't do it, because she wants to have her moment." And she did have her moment, so, yeah.
This is your world, being called by the stylists of Diana Ross and Tracy Ellis Ross. Is that something that you like on a personal level? Because I know for your brand it's very good. Do you like it personally as well?
Yeah, I do, but I also see that it's very fickle because they call you if they like something, they'll do everything to get it. But then on other moments when you think, oh, maybe now I can ask them to do something for me, you don't find them. So but this is the fashion industry. It's quite a nasty business. So
not very sustainable. There's another example of something that you made and was worn by Kate Moss. That was a coat. And you struggled a little bit in order to get the right design for this coat.
Well, this was something for my very first season, and I had a fur blanket, and I had all these. I had a gold python, I had leather, and I wanted to do something, so I made a fur coat and I made a leather jacket. But both of them I didn't like, and then at one point I sort of combined the two and made it into this jacket. That's sort of like a hybrid between two things that I sort of had thrown out. And yeah, so Kate Moss saw this at a shoot and she wanted to have it. So I got a call, can Kate have this jacket? And I said, okay, whatever, it's Kate Moss. But that sort of was a very good thing because that made everybody notice, what I was doing. And it's also a very good piece because, it has a story to it, so.
Right. What you just said is like you make clothes for models. If we talk about inclusion, because your work is a statement also about sustainability. In the fashion industry right now, a very important topic is inclusion as well, and including different body types. You already mentioned different ethnicities in your runway shows. How do you design for different body types as well in the collections that you create?
Well, I found, because I dress so many different women right now, and more, like last week we had a whole group of women coming to our studio, that people, they come in, they say, yeah, but it's only for skinny girls and I can't wear it. And I always find something for everyone, and everybody always walks out happily, because, for a show, they are skinny. Those are the girls, you cast from thousands of skinny girls, which is true. I mean, what I try to do, at least I try to have different types of skinny girls, like they all have... Yeah.
You got skinny, little skinny.
No, but I mean, I want like, there's sort of like this Asian girl that walks like a robot, and then there's this Victoria's Secret girls, and then you have this beautiful black Amazon girls, and so I try to have real diversity in the models as well. So the clothes are all very different, so it's not like when you go to a show and you see, one thing coming out and then the next thing is something completely different. So I want everything to have a personality, and they all have different hair and makeup, and so I think that makes it interesting. You don't get so bored at the show because you get something new every time. Right. It's important for me, but...
Right. I have to focus on it because what I admire about your work is that you shake the fashion industry, or you turn it upside down almost by reusing fabrics. And after this, we'll let it go. But isn't it also possible, because you say you have to cast from all those thousands of skinny girls, if you want to make your statement as well, then it is possible.
I think it is possible, and for my first real runway show, I wanted to start with like different ages. But so we invited all the ladies as well to come to the casting. But in the end, we really didn't do it because it sort of made everything really weird. Like you get a very funny perspective if you... For me, it didn't work. I know it can work, but then you have to go all the way. And I think then you have to... Then it comes really down to money as well. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the reason. I'll be honest with you. It's also... I don't know, it's also a practical thing. And also, like it's easier if you have one fit for everything, because then you can sort of go through. But if you have to do everything specific for all different girls, then you have to know already what you're going to do for what girl while you're designing it. And that means you would have to have that girl around you. So it's just not a very practical thing. I think if you have a lot of money, if you have a very big company, you can do that. You can probably, get away with it. But for us to do that kind of thing, I don't know. If I really wanted it, then I could do it. But to be honest with you, I don't find... I think I see more issues with other things right now. And I still know that I can dress many different body types. It's not like I exclude, people.
Right.
I have a feeling, so, and I've seen it, so.
Well, let's talk about inspirations. What inspires you? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, I think what inspires me is the women that I mentioned before, the clients that were at Bill Blass, those kind of old socialites, or the old couture, like from Saint Laurent, Valentino in the 70s, 80s. I feel that's when, for me, that's when fashion was at its best. And because there was glamour, there was excitement, there was newness, everybody had a real point of view, personality. Couture was sort of leading the way for what women were dressing like, and they were inspiring women. And so that's really, it's also the time of Helmut Newton. It's a time that for me sort of was something when I started to look at fashion, and I was like 16, 17. Those were the images that I saw. I mean, we saw this German fashion program as well. I sat with my mom on the couch watching Neues vom Kleidermarkt, which was like a really funny fashion program.
It's
so that all made a big imprint on me, and I think it always sticks with me. It's like when I work on a collection, those things are sort of in my head already. So they always come out in some kind of way. It's not like I say, oh, I'm gonna, do this Saint Laurent dress now. No, it's sort of in my mind, and maybe, it might come out, but I don't even realize. But it's something that has made a big impression.
You brought some footage with you, so let's look at the first fragment that we have, and that's a piece with a Japanese woman, or you described it as a Japanese woman.
Yeah, this is an inspiration video that I really loved it because it's so weird and it's so classic. It's from a Japanese, I think it's a Japanese department store or something, but it's really interesting, kind of spooky.
June, Rope, Mystère.
I find it really, really good.
What do you like about it? Because it is quite, in our perception, quite weird. What do you like about it?
Well, first of all, I mean, they're wearing quite classic clothes. It's not like anything avant-garde or something. But the fact that she has like hosiery around her head with the makeup and it's very dramatic. She doesn't look in the camera, and he's sort of like this walk. It's very over the top, but I don't know. So for me, it has a sense of humor. It has a sense of like weirdness. It's very surreal. I don't know. I don't know, but it gets to me.
Let's look at the second piece of footage to see. That's from the 70s as well. Can you introduce it? What are we going to look at?
Well, this is a late 60s fashion video that I found. And it's so good because the girls are sort of quite, almost like robots. And they just stand and they move in a very funny way. And it's very cool. It's very sort of futuristic, but also very modern. I really love it.
Who designed it?
I think it's from different designers. Actually, because there's, and they actually had mohawks then. That's what I found really intriguing. So we actually, for the last show, I said we have to do this. So I was working with Wart, this Dutch hairstylist. So he created these mohawks for us, and it was good because they're not punk, but they're So I thought it was really cool. And now you see all these fashion videos, but I thought this one was so modern and actually.
Here are the mohawks that you created.
So we also there's the mohawk that we
and on the left as well, right? If I'm not mistaken.
There you have a yellow one. Yeah.
And we also have footage of your own fashion show, and I believe that we can see the inspiration from those two pieces of footage as well. Let's have a look at your show.
I'm giving it all away.
You're giving it all away, yeah. What strikes me the most when I see this clip is that it's very inspired by the clips that we saw previously. But what I also see is that everybody's filming. It's like not they're just looking, but also filming at the same time.
Well, this is the problem of the world now, right? We don't live in the moment. We film the moment and then, you know,
share the
we
moment.
share it, but we don't really feel it, and this is what I find really difficult.
Mm.
You know, we actually, what I try to do, our shows are very small. You know, it's only 150 people usually, so it's not like the big productions. Because you know, like if you build a big decor, like for Chanel, for example, when they build a supermarket, or everybody's filming everything. That's really the purpose also of the decor. But I try that people really look at the clothes, and thank God there's some people actually doing it. I mean, Celine Dion was a good example.
Celine Dion, she wore your clothes as well, right?
She was at the show, and you know, she actually ordered some things, but she was really, you know, looking at the clothes and loving it. And this is the kind of thing. This is like a dream customer, you know, because it's somebody that really understands the labor, and she really, she loves it. She's passionate about it. So this is, you know, the ideal customer for us. Yeah.
I want to open it to the audience and to see whether there are any questions from the audience to Ronald. Anybody? Yeah, I'll come to you with the mic. Go right ahead.
Hi, good evening. So I was wondering about how much the fabrics influence your design process. Do you still work like a traditional way when you start with a sketch and you source the fabrics? Or you just like source something and then you think what you're gonna do with that?
It goes both ways, because I collect a lot of things that I like without a plan, really. If I like something, I buy it, and then it's in my office, and then you know, we start working on something. And sometimes I start working with the fabric, and other times I have an idea and I find something to go with it. But a lot of the times it's the fabric, I think. Yeah.
And again, am I on? No. Yes. Okay. Again, you don't create collections. You create wardrobes.
Yeah.
And that means that there are individual pieces, right?
Yes.
So it's not a whole look that and feel that is applicable to all the items that you make. Is that difficult for the industry to understand?
Yes. I'll give you an example. When I did my first presentation in Paris, I also invited the buyer from Colette, the big store there that was very popular, and you know, they buy avant-garde. And she came in and she looked at it and she was like, "I don't know what you're doing here, but this is never going to work because it's like nothing goes together. I really don't get it." She was really sort of like almost offended by it because she couldn't grasp. Funny enough, we were in the store like 3 years later, but
And what was the turning point for them? That 3 years later she did understand it, or did she see the success internationally?
no, I think, I mean, we got into the store then with a certain project that we were involved in. So it wasn't necessarily, I think, specifically her choice, but we were part of a project. So,
Right.
but it was sort of like very funny to, you know.
Yeah.
And then she came to the show and everything. So I think she sort of started seeing that it was actually not such a bad idea. But
Right. Any other questions?
Yes. These days, there's a lot of talking about a circular economy. And I wondered if you're interested in making the fashion more sustainable. Could it also be in a way that people cherish their certain clothes, but they want to update it so that you would use the clothes that people have and make it into something new? So by designing?
well, I think, I mean, of course, I'd be open to that for if we have private customers. But the problem is usually when people do that kind of thing, they don't expect to pay so much. You know, it's like what we do is there's a lot of handwork and there's a lot of hours that go into it. So I think the idea in itself is very nice. And I think, well, my colleague here, he will tell you about how he works, because it's in a way, you know, a little bit to what he does. But I think for me, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I would love. My idea was that I would get a dress from Queen Beatrix and make it into a dress for Queen Maxima. That would be great, you know, that kind of thing. I've proposed that idea, so I don't know, but if that'll ever happens. But that's the kind of thing I would love to do. But you know, but in general, it's sort of like it's a difficult concept to really realize. The idea is nice, but you know, it just costs a lot of money.
Yeah, because what you did mention, and I had to think of that because of your remark. What you did mention as well is that you buy your piece of designer wear, and then you cherish it for years to come, and then you preferably would wear it as well. But in reality, I've gained 10 kilos, and you know I won't fit in it anymore. So I could cherish it still, but I can't do anything with it. What kind of solution do you have for that?
Well, I mean, yeah, if women buy something from me and then they come back in 2 years and they say like it doesn't fit anymore, of course we can do something. I think that would be great, because then, I mean, if it's a couture customer, you know, then of course you would do that. But if it's something you buy for an H&M price, then it's just not possible. You know, it's like you can't.
It's so interesting what you say about Queen Maxima as well, because a couple of years ago she did wear like this green dress that was worn by Beatrix as well. So the sustainability, or the sense of sustainability, is also landed in her as well. I would like to go to our Dutch talent. Somebody who you already introduced and why you invited him. Please give a warm hand to Duran Lantink. Welcome. Have a seat. Can I offer you a glass of water?
Yes.
A warm welcome to you as well. You're a fashion designer as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your work?
Yes, I can. Is it on?
Yes, it is.
I'm so self-conscious when I speak in a microphone. Okay, so basically what I do is I work with dead stock from high-end boutiques. So obviously a lot of boutiques and concept stores have a lot of dead stock laying around and they're doing nothing with it.
And what is dead stock?
Dead stock is stock that didn't got sold in sale. So it's just laying around, they're doing nothing with it. And I sort of was questioning from, okay, what can we do with it? Why should I make anything new if there's so much laying around? So yeah, that's basically what I do. I create new outfits from things that people don't want to buy anymore.
How do you get that dead stock?
Well, first I was buying it in sale. Then I found out that it was a little bit too expensive. So I started knocking on doors. And I started knocking on doors at Kiki Niste. And she has a lot of stock as well. Kiki Niste is a quite famous shop in Holland, Maastricht. And also she has an outlet here in Amsterdam. So I got to choose, I think, 10 pieces from Kiki Niste, her outlet shop. And then I could make my graduation project with her stock, which was great.
What you do as well is you manipulate the brands. So, I mean, you're wearing your Adidas right now, and you have I see a Hermes label on it as well.
Yeah, my assistant is doing this. It's very annoying. Every time this is my favorite sweater, and every time I just take it off and I go to the bathroom or go outside to have a smoke, I come back and there's a new label on it.
It's done by your sister.
And it's not really that I like it, but it's just my favorite sweater.
It's your favorite sweater.
So it's like, I'll just keep on wearing it. Yeah.
But the fact that you alter pieces that already have been designed, what do the labels themselves think about that idea?
Well, yeah, that's funny. I didn't know what they were thinking about that, but I think 3 weeks ago I had a presentation at LVMH for the LVMH prize, and then they also invited J.W. Anderson, so Jonathan, Humberto from Kenzo, a few other designers that I sort of cut up and make new outfits out of that. And so they came into my rack and they were like super sort of aggressively looking. And then in the end they saw it and I was like, oh yeah, that's great, I love it. So I think that's good. It was kind of scary though. Even Umberto from Kenzo said, oh yeah, I have like 3,000 of those dresses, so maybe you can do something of it. But that's literally how it goes. They have so much stock.
Right, and what do they do then? Will they be destroyed as well?
We don't know. Yeah,
that's a big secret.
Yeah, that's a big secret. So Burberry is burning it, but we all know that at the moment. And for sure, all the other brands and all the other like concepts or like department stores are also shreddering it or burning it. But
where did for you as well? Where did your interest in fashion start?
Yeah, it's kind of a cliche, but it's almost the same story as Ronald, so it's kind of weird.
Oh God!
I've always been interested in fashion, in clothing. So
what was the first moment that you were aware of, being interested in fashion instead of being interested in clothes?
Well, I don't see the difference between fashion and clothes, to be honest.
Really?
Because, yeah.
So what I buy at H&M or Primark is fashion as well?
No, but I don't see the difference in the way I look at clothes.
Okay.
So I think that I've been looking at clothes always as a sort of a fashion thing. I started creating, super dumb, but creating Barbie outfits with my grandma when I was 6, I think. So we started creating jackets from old, how do you say this, curtains, and so that's how I sort of started. And I think then the Spice Girls came up, and I was like about 8, so I started drawing Spice Girls the whole day, like all these platform shoes. So it's always been there. It's never not been there. And I also did the dance academy.
Oh, really? You're like a clone. You're almost like a clone. And what happened?
No, I stopped when I was 14. I liked partying too much and those kind of things. So it was like, I don't know. It's just dancing was nice for in a nightclub, but it wasn't really for me.
Oh, right. And when did you decide to become a professional designer?
Well, from the moment I started I've never thought of doing something else. So like it's also hard for me to realize that I'm a professional designer because it's just something. It's just my life, and I'm just experimenting still also. So I guess I'm professional now. I'm working with a lot of international people at the moment, which is great. But I can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest. Like, I don't know what to do then.
You just mentioned that you start to work internationally as well. How did that come about?
Well, that all came about. Oh, sorry, I'm not looking at the audience. Hello. Yeah. I think that all started when I created the pants for Janelle. So I created the vagina pants for Janelle Monáe.
Let's have a look, because the famous vagina pants were created by you. And we've got a piece of that video.
Inside of your baby pink behind all of the doors, crazy pink like the tongue that goes down, maybe pink like the paradise found.
You were still at the Rietveld when you designed those pants, right?
No.
No? My research sucks. That's what I thought. Okay,
I
you
graduated
already
at least until 2013, so that's like...
Okay.
5
What's the story behind those pants?
Well, that's also a funny story, also quite similar to Ronald, because I graduated at Rietveld, and one of my best friends, Emma Westenberg, is a director. She's the director of Janelle Monáe's video clip. So Janelle fired her creative team 5 days before the video. And they already asked me to do something, but I don't know, it goes that way. So you get asked, and then all of a sudden you don't hear anything anymore. And then
But how do you, it's like very easy, you get asked. How do you get asked?
well, because Emma is my best friend. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she's doing the video clip. I like working with her. She loves working with me. So then, yeah, I mean, that's how it works for me. Then, like, that's how it worked with this video clip.
But
so
she was you were asked. You didn't hear anything
and
anymore.
Janelle saw my previous work and my sketches and everything, but I didn't hear a lot for a long time. Nothing. And then 5 days before she was making this video, they called me and like, yes, can you maybe make a vagina dress because Janelle fired her team? I was so first
And did you already have
no.
first at first
I said no, of course not. And then I said, what, vagina? No. But then I got like she told me like, okay, just think for it on 50 minutes. So I called her back. It's like, okay, fine, I will create a pants. I won't do a dress. And then I had to make this. It was very intense. I couldn't sleep. I had to do 5 days of 24/7 working.
Really? Because do you sew yourself?
No, I've never. I mean, sewing.
It's not your thing.
No.
All right. Only you do Barbie clothes.
I'm a good cutter though, but I think if my seamstress were here, then they would be really angry that I say that I'm a good cutter. But I think I'm a good cutter.
So you work 24/7 for 5 days to create those pants.
Yeah.
And there's still a risk. Did you know for sure that she would wear it, or?
Yeah. So they had to buy it. So that was the deal. They had to pay upfront.
How much?
Yeah, well, enough, I think. Well, maybe not, because now it's in the museum and whatever. So.
Tell me, so how much did you get?
No, I'm not. That's
almost
weird. That's
comparable to.
No.
Is it comparable to? Is it comparable to a car? Is it comparable to?
What? No. I'm not gonna tell how much I got paid for.
Okay. What happened after she wore it?
Well, it blew up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think I didn't even notice. It was more my family or my mom or so that came. Oh, it's on the news. And, I was like, and then all of a sudden it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also funny. People in Holland then start to recognize you, but you're already like doing some kind of work. So it's kind of weird. It needs to be internationally owned or like seen, and then it's sort of. You get the attention here.
Right.
But yeah, it blew up. I got a lot of opportunities, I'm sure that I got a lot of opportunities because of the vagina pants. It got to a museum, so FIT Museum in New York bought it. Mm-hmm. And then Centraal Museum in Utrecht now bought one.
Do you still produce them?
No. No, there are like a lot of other people trying to get one, but I stopped.
Why? It's making
because
money.
I mean, it's over. I'm not gonna be. I'm doing something which is far more interesting than a fucking vagina pants. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I mean, it has to stop. I made for Janelle. I made 10 pair of those pants, and then I made 3 pairs for 3 museums, and now it's over.
It's over and done.
But the funny fact is that I think they were on the Grammy show. I also found out like last week, and then I was looking at the pants, and I thought, huh, that's not my pants.
You didn't make them.
It was like I think they changed the material or something, so they probably didn't want to pay an extra one, so they just tried to remake it, but it was so ugly. It just you saw like the cut, it was completely wrong.
What do you do? What do you do if that happens?
No, whatever, it's fine. No,
is it?
No.
Sue the bastards.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean,
right. What you have in comparison to similar to Ronald as well, is that your work, your items are also a critique on the fashion industry by using dead stock and creating new work. why is that important for you to have that message?
Well, I think I also talked about Ronald with this before, because it's kind of weird for me. Of course, there's a super important message, but it has always been my work method. So, since the first year of my academy, I started working with things that I found in the charity shop. So it has never been different for me. It's always been cutting up old pieces, stitching them back together, getting a lot of critique.
Critique, yeah.
Yeah, critiques on it, on the academy itself. They didn't really like it at the beginning. And so what you do is you're going to reflect on your work, and then you just find out that you're basically cutting up old pieces from designers. So you just like reflect on it, and then you see what you're doing. So that's how I work normally. Yeah, so that's
what
sort of turned into a thing now. Huh?
Well, what you're describing now is that you use that as a concept, not as an idealistic way
No,
of
it's my
critiquing.
work method. It's not a concept.
And what's the difference between a work method and a concept in that sense?
Well, a concept is something that's for me. A concept is something that's changing a lot, and this concept didn't change, or this working method doesn't change.
Yeah,
it's just something that I really just do. It's not like a hype or a concept or something that is here for a few years or whatever. It's just my way of working. So I don't know. I find the word concept a bit weird then.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries at all. But the ethical part of your work, is that important?
Yeah, it's important.
In what way?
Well, for me, I don't know. How can I explain? Sorry, it's sometimes quite hard to sort of answer all the questions. The ethical work, it's hard to explain because it's working from out of feeling that I have. So it's just there. So it's sometimes hard to say, okay, this is why I do this. Or
because it's intuitive.
It's intuitive, like constantly. It's always, I don't never think of something up front. So it's never that I think, oh, I'm now interested in blue, or I'm interested in a certain type of form. It's just always sort of playing around. Like
we have that in common, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just working
We have a lot
intuitively
in
and
common.
see what happens. Your work is being sold now in a shop in London, right?
Yeah, it's sold in Liberties, and it's gonna be really nice this year. So
Yeah, tell me about Liberties. What kind of shop is it, and what is being sold there?
for Liberties, I did a pop-up. This is, for instance, sold in Liberties, which is a combination of vintage Chanel, Junya Watanabe for Comme des Garçons, Dior, and Air van der Forst with Fruit of the Loom. Yeah, so these are all one-offs, so I create unique pieces. I don't do sizing, or I just create. This is a mix between Dior, MSGN, and Numero 21.
But you don't do sizing? You just make it in a certain size?
I just make the sizes that I get will probably be the sizes that go back into the store, which is kind of hard, of course, because there's a reason why it's not sold sometimes because of sizing. But I don't know, yeah.
But it's also difficult. So if I go into your store and I see something that's really nice, but it's either too big or too small, I just cannot wear it.
Well, of course you can. Of course we can remake it. That wouldn't be too hard. Like if it's too small or too big, we can do something different with it. But for me, it's super important to do unique pieces, because also a sort of race against this whole Instagram media where you have to be the same as Kim Kardashian, or what Ronald always also was talking about. And for me, it's kind of important that you buy into something which is a luxury item, and that you think, oh my fucking God, I'm the only one in the world wearing this. There's no one else in this world who has this piece.
Right.
And I think that for me is interesting part about what I'm doing at this moment.
Well, what do you consider your work to be? Is it more art or is it more fashion?
No, it's fashion.
It is? Why isn't it art?
I don't know, it's fashion, come on.
You're very...
Huh?
Why you dismiss that right away? Because I think it's art is also
I don't know.
reflection of
You
things.
know what kind of hard, what is kind of hard is that people always try to push you in some kind of thing. So yeah, okay, maybe it's a one-off, so it should be art. But no, it's just like if I say it's fashion and I think it's fashion, it's fashion. So
right.
It's also a very Dutch thing because you know the bigger names now in Holland. I mean, you have Victor and Rolf, you have Joost van Herpen, and a lot of their stuff goes into museums.
Yeah.
So people consider it. You know, it goes into
your work
museum,
goes
and
into
it's sort of
museums
like
as
art.
well.
Yeah, but yeah.
So are the vagina pants art?
No, the vagina pants are just vagina pants. I mean, it's not art. This is something I'm doing with Nick Knight. So Nick Knight's creating a video together with me. So we're both working on a video where we show all my older stuff, which is really nice, I think.
There are some compromises that you sometimes have to make, because it's very nice that you present and you sell your work at Liberties in London. But what you also do, and that's why my art question stems from as well, you create installation where your work is being presented. It's not work that you can just buy off the rack.
Yes, you can.
You can, but it's not your
no,
preference.
the installations are art.
Yeah.
And
can you
the
tell us
items? Sorry, I'm talking really hard. Sorry. The items are part of the installation, but they are still fashion pieces. No, really serious. Like the installation is an art. I think that's me as an artist. I think. But the pieces that I create are really fashion.
Right. Tell us about, because we don't have your installation here. Tell us a little bit about your installations. What do they look like?
Well, I created an installation. Like my last installation was a flagship store, which was a mix between Saint Laurent, Prada, Balenciaga, Gucci, and Celine. So what I basically did was I created a post-Black Friday shop-in-shop. So you have to imagine that you're a shop owner in a luxury department store, and you have like your tiny, small, beautiful shop there, and it has been Black Friday. So you come in the day after, and like
there has been a rampage,
like completely rampage. So that's what we created, and then the floor was a mix between Balenciaga and Gucci. So all the labels had to force together into one store to sell anything. Because
did you get the display from them as well, like display materials?
No, I wish. We asked, but they didn't give it. So we had to work with the old stock from Liberty, because we wanted to remake. We didn't want to create something new. We wanted to sort of also...
Where did you make the first creation of that Black Friday, after Black Friday shop-in-shop? Did you already create that?
We created it for Somerset House, and we created it in London with Phil Creates Studio.
Right. So Liberty saw that, and they wanted to have.
They wanted to have a luxury version of it.
And how does that translate into a luxury version?
No, well, that's super interesting, because basically I'm now very in my experiment phase. So I don't know what happens when you work together with Liberty. It's my first time. So. What happens is they create a version of your installation, which will be models sitting on a, how do you say that?
Pedestal?
A pedestal, and then there will be a pillar on the floor with a really nice chair. And then, I mean, it doesn't look like a ruined shop. It's like a Liberty shop with a pillar on the floor.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, I found I realized that I'm doing a collaboration with Browns now in a few months, and I'm doing also an installation there. And I just realized, okay, this is like a very good lesson, because I'm never, ever, ever, ever gonna let another store do my installation.
Right.
Because you really need to do your own installation.
Right. So
super important. Or find someone that you trust and
just create it for.
Yeah.
Well, you worked at Barney's. What if Barney's says, okay, we would like to have your collection and would like to sell it in our stores, but we're going to make the installation?
No, I have a similar thing now with Selfridges in London. But they didn't know. Sorry, it's another. They said that I could build my own installation.
No, so it's but it's like the
I can't do
opportunity.
it. No, I won't do it then. I think also,
even if it's the opportunity to sell in New York, Barney's.
I think Barney's is kind of. You know what? For me, I'm not that experienced, but for me it would be very scary to be in Barney's without my own installation, because you sort of get disappeared into the 5,000 other designers that are there, and everybody comes for the Moncler, and everybody.
This is what happened to us, because in the beginning we sold to like, you know, some big department stores, but we decided to opt out of it. Also because you have no control. The moment it's in their hands, they bought it, they can do whatever they want. If they want to go on sale, Bijenkorf is the worst example, because nobody in Holland wants to buy full price. So the Bijenkorf already, the stuff is in the store, and after 3 weeks they do like a 1 week sale. And then already, like, no one's going to buy it full price anymore.
All right.
So basically, you know, you have to be careful because you ruin your brand that way.
Now you're describing exactly what you described when you were talking about Chanel, that you don't want to drop your prices. So what do you do with that?
No, because what I want to do is I want to have control over, like he does, like what you bring out. And if you work with private customers, you have control. And you don't make things that go on sale for so many.
You don't have that stock.
Yeah,
I have that problem.
This is what it is.
I have that problem now because people are telling me that consignment is the worst thing ever.
What is consignment?
Consignment is that you get like a reel or a rack in a store, and then you can sell your stuff. They won't buy into it, but then after a season, and if it didn't get sold, you'll get it back.
Right.
And then you get they get a percentage of your thing. But for me, somehow I think it's kind of interesting, but I don't know. It's
But if you were offered consignment, would you do it?
Sorry?
If you were offered consignment, would you do it?
Yeah, people are telling me not to do it, but I rather have it back than it goes into sale. So I don't know. It's just weird.
I want to open up the questions from the audience as well. One final question. Even the big brands are very conscious of sustainability now as well. So in their collection, they're presenting, you know, sustainable items. What do you think about that?
I think I know a little too much about that because, for example, we work with Olivia Firth. She's Colin Firth's wife. She has this organization called Eco Age, and they work with big brands like Gucci, for example, or like Chopard, or like they work with Tom Ford and everything. So, for example, with Gucci, they do this small program where they have, like, you know, say maybe it's 1% of the collection is then made with sustainable fabrics or made in a good way. And, you know, they bring this out as like a real big thing. They get a stamp from Eco Age, approved, you know, this is a sustainable thinking company. And then they go on with their shit.
Yeah.
This is what happens. And then Eco Age gets a lot of money because it's a business in itself. And Gucci, you know,
so in
feels they've done something good. So, okay, we can go on for another year. Nobody's going to bother us.
So it's a sense of window dressing because it's only a couple of items in a gigantic
it's sort
collection.
Of like this is what we see happening a lot. Yeah. And actually, they approached us. Do you want a stamp? And I was like, well, why do we need a stamp? This is what we do. It's our DNA. This is why. Because you know you can do it, and we make a special price for you. And I'm like, no. So we had to put our foot down, and now in the end, now they support us without like having a stamp and everything. But this is what's going on. And then they do a green carpet challenge as well, which is sort of like all the big designers do a sustainable dress in Milan, and then people get awards, and it's a big farce to me.
Yeah, it's self-congratulatory as well. Yeah. I want to open it up to the audience, but I would like to ask the technique, can we have another microphone here? Because I don't have a microphone to... We don't have another microphone, then I'll steal yours. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes. To who?
To both of the speakers, if that's okay. Yeah. I think it's really fascinating to hear your story. And what are your ambitions in 10 years? What about your growth? Where do you see yourself? And I'm really curious to hear both of your points.
That was my final question, so you're too soon. Keep that thought. I'll finish up with that question as well. It's a very good question, so thank you so much. Any other questions? Thank you. Let's see what is quickest ways. Yeah, there you go.
Hello, yeah, I have also a question for both designers, because you both use vintage clothing or old designer clothing for your new processes. Do you see yourself still as a designer, not more as a stylist, when you use other people's clothes and their creative visions?
I'll answer first. I don't use other people's clothes. I use only fabrics. I mean, very rarely I would use 501s or maybe army clothes to make something new, but in general, I just use fabrics. I don't use clothes, but so.
How do you see yourself as a stylist more or as a designer?
I don't see myself. I mean, I'm doing styling as well, but no, I don't see myself as a stylist because I create really something, I guess, new forms. Stylists do that maybe as well, but it's not that easy. Like, it's not easy to combine different types of knits, or it's not easy to combine materials that don't match together. So it's there's a whole other technique than only being a stylist. I do think that I design with a stylistic eye, though.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. Lately, the use of vegan leather has become very popular. How do you view the use of fur or leather and those kind of materials?
Well, I mean, my point of view is that I buy what is there. So, for example, I had a dress that was made out of pythons because I went to a place in Italy where they bought stuff that was discarded by, for example, Vuitton, because there was like little holes in the python. So basically, you know, they buy up what was thrown away. So I make a dress out of it. And I know a python is a protected animal, but it has died. So rather than, you know, burning it, or I'd rather make a beautiful dress. And with the first situation, I have sort of like a very difficult thing because people are so against fur, and fur is such a sensitive subject. So people use that now also as we're sustainable because we don't use fur, but then they use fake fur, and fake fur is the worst thing in the world because first of all, when you produce it, the people get respiratory problems. Then when it's made, it's never going to disappear because it's there to last forever because it's all synthetics, and it's the worst for the environment. Real fur sort of disappears, has a natural life. I know, you know, there's issues with that, but I don't know what's better, one or the other. But there's good developments with vegan leather, I know that. The thing is, for me, it's very important that it also has a really beautiful aspect. So I'd rather stick now with all the leftovers from everyone to make something new than using a vegan leather or something. I don't know.
Right, thank you. Would you like to address that as well?
I kind of agree with Ronald. But when I get vegan fur, of course, of a vegan leather, I will, of course, do something with it. But yeah, I work with whatever I get, so...
Right.
Also fur.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you think also with sustainability, the big brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel could die? Or disappear because we talk so much about sustainability and we are all conscious of what's happening, and if all brands, like all those big brands, could one day disappear because they are not conscious enough?
Well, first, I don't think they'll disappear, but I hope they. I'm wondering when they're going to change. You know, when they start seeing what they're doing wrong, and when they're really opening up with that. I mean, this was an interesting thing that I don't know if I can, because we, have a question. The fact that, he's doing this, he's in this prize, which is a very prestigious prize. I mean, everybody wants to win this prize, or be nominated. So it's a great thing. But at the same time, I'm questioning because, with that prize, you get the training. You get, coached by people from LVMH. So they tell you what you need to do to become a successful business. You know what their successful business model is. And I'm thinking, no, they should give him the money and find his own ways and find his own people to build a successful business in his own way, rather than them telling him, you need to do 6 collections in a year, you need to do this, you need to do that,
Let's ask the nominee. Because you're nominated
well,
for the LVMH prize.
I really don't want to win the prize, to be honest, because they call it the kiss of death. So they, I have a lot of meetings with people, and they just tell me, meetings with different people who are not included with the LVMH, but also are in the jury, and they will keep on coming and say, it's the kiss of death, it's the kiss of death. Don't win it. So I don't know. It's for me, it's really good to be in there because it's kind of a questionable thing. Why am I in there? Because I'm cutting up, there you see the shopping bags which were hanging on the wall, which is part LVMH group and part Kering group. it's kind of vulgar, and it's kind of, I mean, it's weird that they want me there. But in the other, and on the other side, it's a very good, how do you say that? Marketing stunt for them. It's like very, very smart to sort of let them see, like, look, hey, we're open for this, you know.
And if you win the prize, you will become part of the establishment.
Sorry?
And if you win the prize, you will become part of the establishment as well.
Yeah.
That is part of that industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'll still do my own thing. I'm never. I mean, they won't be able to sort of stem me in. I don't know. They don't. I will just really do my own thing. I don't think I'm really not in there to win. I was really, to be honest, I was in there to meet all the buyers, and I met them.
So your mission is
they're very hungry at the moment. So yeah, I guess that's the main reason for me.
A couple of final questions, yeah.
Recently, there have been a lot of scandals in the fashion industry. For example, around blackface, that a lot of companies have included that in their designs and then later issued apologies about that. What do you think about that? Can it really go through a company that a design that goes through so many stages is then published without anyone thinking about it? Or do you think it's really just a form of publicity for the brands, and what do they wish or hope for their brand to, what kind of profit do they hope for themselves to get from that?
Well, I don't think they really do it on purpose, but because I think a lot of those things happen because there's so many people in a design team, and they come up with ideas, and if you have to look at all they make so much product that they don't even know what they bring out. This is the problem. So somebody finds something in a magazine and they think, oh, that's cute, okay, let's do it, and then before you know it's in there. I don't think people really consciously would do these kind of things. I mean, Dolce & Gabbana did a horrible thing in China where they did this commercial where they had Chinese models eating pasta with chopsticks, and it blew up in China, and they were going to do a show and they had to cancel the show. I don't think you do that kind of thing on purpose to get attention. It's sort of like a bad thing. So, but somehow I think people don't really think it. Everybody is sort of so stretched with everything that they have to produce and do, and everything needs to be bigger and more product, and nobody really thinks about it anymore. This is what bothers me. So you get all these half-assed products that cost a fortune in the stores, rather than somebody really working on it and doing something original. This is, I think, what's going on.
Thanks. Final question. Oh, two final questions then.
Hi. I want to share something a little bit personal because I love fashion. I went to school to fashion school, but it's kind of hard to find a job in it because either it's unpaid and it's all internship based, or on the other hand, if you want to start something for yourself, then you need to have a lot of money, which I obviously don't have. So do you have a tip or an advice for me on how to, get my first job in fashion?
Or a job?
Or a job in fashion. And I'm also sustainable fashion is also something that I'm very interested in, but it's not that I have all of the technical knowledge already. So I'm just super, super junior, and I just really want to work in fashion, but on one hand, I also need to be able to pay my rent, and I just have to learn a lot.
So what should you do?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you should do an internship, to be honest. I mean, I think I did that as well. Maybe do part-time internship and part-time work somewhere else to finance your costs, or just start with nothing and just go out and try to figure out. I mean, I started with nothing, I think. Yeah, I didn't have any money. I just knocked on many doors to get close and just start. So maybe that's something you can start on. But to be honest, it's just really hard. I mean, 90% of my class is doing something else. So I think I'm the only one who's actually in fashion still. So, right? Yeah. There are a lot of students in fashion, which is also kind of troubling because there is not that much.
I mean, it's a really tough business. And I think the only way you succeed is if you're really determined and go all the way and just, go on and on and on. be very motivated, and you have to have some luck, of course, but you should never give up. This is the thing. But it's very tough. I mean, I know it. And
but
I get a lot.
When you started out your career, you make it sound very easy. I mean, you wanted to go to New York. You got an internship in New York. Did you struggle at a certain point?
Of course, I struggled, and I had many horrible experiences in my career as well. I mean, one of them was the Gila Roche thing, but no. I mean, when I came to New York, it wasn't like in the first week that I had a job. No. I was really worried, and I was lucky. I got a lucky break, and but there's moments that are really tough that you want to give up. I mean, also in those 5 years now, or 4.5 years that I do this brand. I mean, last week I was like, okay, I'm sick of it. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't take it any longer. There's a lot of moments like that you really can't take it, but I'm so driven, and I have so much passion for what I do that you just keep on going. But I know it's really tough to get a foot in the door. But the only way to do it is to try and meet as many people and try to show yourself and go out. And that's the only way. If you sit at home, nothing's going to happen. So you have to go out there and try and get your foot in the door somewhere.
Determination and stubbornness. So good luck. Final question.
Thanks. This is a question for both of you, Ronald and Lyndon. I really appreciate how your fashion labels are kind of the antithesis to fast fashion. And I think the demand for the clothes that you make prove that there's a appetite for conscious fashion. But do you foresee this momentum of fast fashion, buying throwaway clothes? Do you see it slowing down or stopping? Are you optimistic about the future?
I don't know. I don't know if it's slowing down. I don't know if fast fashion is slowing down, but I'm sure that there are, everybody's trying to find something new. So find new solutions to sort of work towards a better future within fashion. So I don't know if it's gonna be slowing down, but there will probably be something else in 50 years. Maybe we're only wearing light or something. We don't even produce anymore. I think there will be a lot of options. And that's also the fun thing about fashion, right? To try to find new solutions and sort of try to think forward of how can we do things differently. So, yeah, I don't know.
But are you optimistic?
I do know. I'm optimistic, of course. I am very optimistic because basically what I'm doing is trying to find solutions for fast fashion and also how to survive on a bigger scale. So what I'm doing now is I'm working with one of my friends, and we're creating an artificial intelligence which copies my digital designing, so I can create a very large aspect of unique pieces. So I don't have to produce like hundreds of the same pieces. We can do one piece, but then like in super many different ways, but still try to sort of get rid of the old stock. So it's still sustainable, but we can sort of grow in that. So I think those kind of things are sort of trying to find solutions for. Is that an answer? I don't know.
But if the business changes, if the brands are able to reduce their dead stock or even eliminate that dead stock, you don't have materials to work with anymore.
I have enough material to work with. There's enough. I mean, and also what I was saying about lighting. I think light, like in terms of light, is also something which is very, like we're very there exploring things with light. So I don't know, like holograms or whatever. I won't go there. Sorry.
Very interesting. Are you optimistic about the future? Is the industry able to change, or is it so deeply rooted in the industry to?
Well, I'm focused on the luxury industry, on high fashion, because I find there's a lot of focus on fast fashion already. I know it's terrible what's happening there, but I don't know. My forte is in high fashion, so I just hope that people will wake up. I think everybody sort of knows that they have to do something, but the problem is just the money behind it. It's very hard to like keep a company growing when you have to actually reduce your your turnover, because that's basically what they need to do. But they may need to do it with a different way. I mean, I'm questioning every time. I sometimes do like workshops or masterclass with like colleges, and I always ask the question: do you think a fashion brand can exist without selling clothes? Because this is where I see the future. You know, I see, what I do, the couture part is very exclusive, and it's like 1 or 2 or like maybe 10 dresses, but that's it. So that I think can exist. But I don't want to grow with selling more clothes. I don't see the point, and I don't want it. So, but, right now you have perfumes and you have bags, but, he's thinking about things, which is very interesting. And I keep asking those questions like, what could it be? Is it do you buy a membership or an experience, or this is what really interests me, and I think that's where fashion is going. But I find that there's very, very few young people or students at colleges now that think about that, and I'm really puzzled by that, because I thought if I were a teacher, that's what I would focus on now. Like, this is where we should go. Like, it's not about the clothes are the message, but then do you actually have to buy them?
So fashion brands without clothes, with more focused on experiences and merchandise.
Yeah, you sort of set the tone or a mood, or like you try to inspire people. This is what fashion does. You give them a dream, and they buy in to that dream. But what do they buy? Does it have to be an actual product, or can it be something else?
Right. Very interesting. We've run out of time, unfortunately. So my final question is here. I don't take 10 years, because a decade is quite long. If I were to invite you again here within 5 years, what would you be doing then? What kind of dreams do you still have for between now and 5 years? I'll start with you.
With me?
Of course.
Okay, yeah, well, no. Okay, so what I want to do in 5 years is that I build up like a very, very healthy relationship with buyers, with stores. I don't know, at this moment I'm sort of obsessed with buyers. I don't know why, but it's something which I find very interesting and weird, because I think the selling system is more broken than the fashion system in a way.
Why?
So, like, sales is more broken than fashion.
Yeah, why is it broken?
Because there is too much, and that's because of the demands, and people ask for too much, and it's just they want to make too much money. So it's now sort of they're on this top that it's just broken. It doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So this whole buying system, it needs to be fixed. So I don't think I'm the solution of fixing it.
But if you meet buyers, what do you bring to the table that will
I'm creating new outfits of their dead stock,
right,
which is obviously like a super big problem. Like, I'm doing a collaboration with H. Lorenzo's. He has like 3 warehouses full of clothing that didn't get sold, and his shops are like the half of this space.
Right.
So imagine that you have...
let's imagine that you create new clothing created from dead stock, but after a while that doesn't sell either. What will happen with those clothes?
Then I will create something new out of it. It won't stop.
The same things. Oh, right, okay. Very interesting.
That's why I think consignment is kind of interesting. Because then you get it back, and then you can create something new, but people see consignment as a dirty thing. So that's like something I'm sort of exploring now.
Nice. Yeah.
And I hope in 5 years that I found a solution, or a solution that works for me, to sort of build a sustainable business. I think business is also kind of a dirty word, but...
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it sounds dirty.
I don't know.
I don't know why, but
does it sound dirty? Business?
Well, I'm actually not so. I don't know. I mean, you need to survive. This is the main thing. The word business for me, I don't know. I mean, I'm building a brand. This is what we do, and I think this is very important. I mean, for me, it's about getting more and more exclusive in terms of the clothes, like more and more couture, and more like, for special, special occasions, women that come to you, they want something, and you make something that fits to their personality. This is what I would love, like getting really exclusive and personal with the clothes. And but at the same time, I think the message that we bring out there is like, working with leftovers, making something beautiful. Sustainable fashion has a stamp that it's not cool and not fashion, but I want it to be really sexy and high fashion. And I think if everybody starts to realize that what Vuitton and Chanel are doing is not so great and that there's a lot of mishaps there.
It's also sort of the new chic, right? To using materials. Like it's not that chic that they're creating new outfits. It's sort of tacky in a way.
I find it's almost like you cannot do it anymore. It's sort of like it's kind of a bad thing. So I feel with that I can attract also people that cannot afford to buy the clothes, but I want to inspire them because you can buy vintage and if people start building wardrobes, this is what I want people to do. You know, then I've reached something, and then if they come to me because I'm working, for example, now, you know, we're thinking about perfume or like beauty products made also with leftovers, maybe even with garbage that we make into something beautiful. You have a beautiful story, and then you have affordable products that people, I hope also, the question I asked before, like, does it need to be a product? I hope I get some ideas that, you know, some other things come up that, you know, people will want to be part of our message and spread the word. That's why also our investors are ambassadors. And I want all these people that, you know, like what we do to become ambassadors. So, you know, you create a very positive, better world with something exciting and cool, and it's fashion, and it's also something very light and something very, you know, that makes people happy. But you're also doing something good. So that's my dream. And
that's achievable in 5 years?
I don't know, but I don't put a time on anything, so that's not necessary. But I hope, you know, we'll get somewhere. If I see what we've achieved in these 4.5 years, I think, you know, I never had dreamed that we would get this far. So anything's possible. It's fashion.
I think those are very remarkable words to close the evening off. Anything is possible. It's fashion. Thank you so much, Duran and Ronald. Thank you all for visiting. If you would like to see more information about the programs that are being presented here, you can always go to the website. There are new programs being announced daily almost. A couple of programs I want to highlight for you is that Photochronique, where Ernst Kopjans is highlighted, is on Thursday the 28th of March. And his work is going to be highlighted, and it's going to be talking about his work as well. What's up? Indie Mokum, that's a program where different creatives, just in the start of the career, mid-career people, are going to talk about their brands. So be there as well. You can check the website. If you want to contribute to the Zwijger or contribute to the programs, that's very possible as well. The programs are for free, but a donation is always welcome. If you are interested in doing that, you can also go to the website to www.dezwijger.pay. Thank you so much. Our next Dutch Master edition is going to be next month. And then we've got... This is the moment that we show who the next Dutch Master is with the slide. Yes, there he is. Leon Raamakers. And that's on May 13th. Next May 13th. That's the 29th edition. I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much. And see you next time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.